Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Steven Avalos, alongside my good friend Marissa Dorr
Hi.
and my dad.
Taking back seat, I see.
I think, did that happen last week? I don't
It's
know.
okay. Hello, everybody.
All right, so we're just going to get straight to talking about the championship round of the NFL playoffs. So let's start off with what the first game was, Tampa Bay and Green Bay. Uh, well, really sad for me because I've always been trying to count out Tampa Bay in all these games, and they still keep finding ways to win. And one thing I'll just say right now is that Brady is not the reason why they're winning.
Oh, it doesn't help. I mean, the fact that teams that he plays on seem to get an abundant amount of calls going their way. In a backhand way, he does have something to do with the wins.
Yeah, I guess
He's
so.
a good quarterback. I mean, he gets the receivers the ball, but the calls he always seem to go against the other team, or lack of calls made on his team, is just mind-boggling.
Now, you know where I stand on that. You know, I always think that Brady has always benefited from calls his whole career. Now, do you think part of that is only because of a few calls that we just look at so much because, you know, he's gotten some, and that we always have to look at every little call that goes his way? Like, you know, is it really more even than we think of it as? Or does he really get so many calls that go his way? Like, is it justified
Well,
for people to look at him that way?
it definitely makes any kind of call be looked at more closely because of the Brady factor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to mention. But it still is obvious, though, because, yeah, maybe they do get more attention than other things, but they're still there nonetheless, and maybe it's hard to blame Brady for that, but also for the refs for giving him that treatment. You know, kind of like with LeBron in the NBA, he gets a lot of special treatment from the refs.
Well, you see after games too, he goes up to him, shakes their hand, buddies up with them. You know, you don't know what he. Well, I don't want to conspiracy thing anything unless I have any kind of proof. But he just, they treat him special.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, Marissa.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even watching that game, I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of the calls were going against Green Bay all the time. I think it really does have something to do with Brady, even if we don't have definite proof. I do think he gets a lot of calls.
And by the way, we are paying $50,000 to anybody who can come up with any kind of proof against Brady and the officials. 50,000, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, GameStop.
Well, anyways, the big call, or like, you know, a bunch of no calls that were going on, was holding, you know, by the defensive backs. You know, basically Sean Murphy Bunting, the corner for the. I think he's a corner and safety. I think he does a bit of both. But anyways, he was holding a lot of the receivers. He got a interception from holding on to Lazard, I believe.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it. And he was holding people all day. And like Green Bay had some holds too, but Bunting was holding everyone that he was guarding. And of course that doesn't help Rodgers if he's breaking the rules to defend their receivers. And then when it came down to Tampa Bay trying to ice the game out, they call it holding. Now it was holding. It was obviously holding, and even with the guy, you know, totally selling it. You know, by diving around and such. It was still
flailing his arms.
But what's so ridiculous is that they chose to call it at the very end instead of calling it all game or just not at all. It's like, if you're going to do it, make sure you do it for both teams, and they clearly didn't do that. And it was just really ridiculous to watch.
Of course, we could just be talking about sour apples, but it just seems like every game he plays in, calls go his favor.
Controversy
we'll see how it goes Super Bowl.
But, you know, in Green Bay, they deserve plenty of blame as well for losing. You know, taking the field goal instead of going for the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of Matt LaFleur. You know, his relationship with Rodgers has always been, like, weird. Well, at first things weren't working out, and then they started working together pretty well. You know, you saw how well the offense was playing, even though they only had, like, one really good receiver in Adams. You know, like with this now, it's just really weird.
Yeah, if I may add, the end of the Green Bay Tampa Bay game, it made absolutely no sense for Green Bay to kick the field goal. There was only 2 minutes left, which would have meant Tampa Bay needed one first down. You know, and it made no sense. It was, I mean, I'm sorry. When you go and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, you give it all you got. Then don't go.
It's ridiculous.
I'm stuttering. It bothers me so much.
And your thoughts, Marissa?
Yeah, I think it was a stupid decision. I mean, what else do you have to lose at that point? If you go for it.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Because if they go for it, they're going to be stuck on the 8-yard line.
Yeah.
Who knows what can happen right then? You know, somebody can hold even though they probably wouldn't have called it for a safety when Brady's in the end zone.
Yeah.
They would have got the ball back for a chance to win. So many things can happen. You never know.
Yeah.
You know, if they did hold them for the three downs, they'd have great field position.
Yeah, and Rodgers isn't blameless either because there was on, I believe it was the third down play. He easily could have tried to run for a touchdown, and I think he had a great chance at getting it, but he chose to throw the ball instead. And you know, maybe if he just got a few more yards and it was still short, that would have made the decision much easier. They should have went for it either way, but it would have made things a lot easier. So you know, they definitely got to get on Rodgers for that. And one thing I have to say is, if you actually think that Brady is the reason why they are in the Super Bowl now, then you don't know that this is a team game, because you got to consider that he's got a top 5 offensive line, one of the best wide receiver cores. You know, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, who was a really big surprise for the year, and then signing Antonio Brown. Although he didn't play in that game, still getting him was he's done pretty well for them.
And the concussion waiting to happen. What's his name?
Gronkowski,
yeah.
top 10 tight end, I think you can argue for him there. And Cameron Braid, who's really underrated. He's got a head coach that has a mindset in this century. And then
what was that about?
What
were you referring to?
Someone that goes by the name of Chucky.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Gruden. I tried to say it.
Yeah. Anyways, you know, you got to consider all those factors, and you got to see that all the defense too. They're easily top 10 to top 5 defensively, and a good defense creates offense as well. They give the offense opportunities.
Are you saying defense wins championships?
Yes.
Oh.
For the second week in a row.
It's the first time I've heard that, actually.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to a friend about the whole thing, and he said, like, offense, they get the tickets. They get the tickets. Oh, jeez, why do I say it like that? But the defense brings in the championship. And, you know, Brady really doesn't deserve that much credit. If anything, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won despite Brady throwing 3 interceptions in that game, because they only scored 7 points off those 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
And Brady should be grateful for that. You know, many other teams, they don't have that kind of luxury to have someone throw interceptions and be given the lead still. Or, you know, there's times where certain quarterbacks give their team the lead countless times and they still lose because of a bad defense.
Are you referring to someone in particular?
No, I'm totally not.
I think you are.
Anyways, so then, Dad, do you have any last words about, you know, Brady and all that?
No.
Marissa?
No. On to KC and the Bills. All
right, so as any Kansas City playoff game goes, or actually besides last week,
they won.
Things went out to a pretty shaky start. Bills jumped out with a 9-0 lead. That was thanks to a muffed punt right at the goal line that the Bills easily took advantage of, and then it was Kansas City's game from there.
Yeah, they have such a great ability to come back from all kinds of deficits with their firepower. And Mahomes, you know, considering he had a bum toe and got concussed last week, it didn't affect him at all.
Yeah, and the way a lot of credit also goes to Andy Reid as well, because he has done such a great job at setting this team up. You know, knowing what play calls to make. You know, like those shows of Travis Kelce, those are always fun to watch. And it's such an dominant offense.
Yeah,
you know, and Buffalo's, they got a good defense. They're not like great, but it's still a pretty competent defense.
Yeah.
and they made him look really bad. And they exploited something that I mentioned before with Josh Allen, was that Josh Allen moves too long in the pocket, and if he gets sacked, it's gonna be big ones. And he got sacked, I think, like 4 times for like 80 yards, 60 to 80 yards. It was like every sack was just like a lot of yardage being lost.
Well, I think his motto is "Go big or go home," and
Well,
he did go
followed it.
big, and he did go home, because his sacks were devastating. Every sack he took seemed like it was 15 yards.
Yeah, it's just you got to know when to throw it away or just take the hit already.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Marissa?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know if you're a Bills fan. Are you disappointed in the outcome, or are you just happy that they made it that far?
Wait, was that
Yeah,
it?
no, that's a question.
Yeah. No, I just thought you had something else to say with it. But anyways, as a Bills fan, I'd definitely be happy because it's still progress. Because before the Bills made it to the wild card but lost there in overtime, and now they made it to the AFC Championship. It shows that they have made progress.
Baby steps.
But that I want to say it's baby step. If they went to the divisional round and then lost, then yeah, that is disappointing. But they won a playoff game and they got here, and even though they didn't stand too much of a chance, they at least know that they were able to get there. Now they need to find out what they can do to step up. Try to make the Super Bowl, and they're gonna have to set themselves in. They'll have to set themselves up in a way to beat Kansas City, because Kansas City is going to be a challenger for everyone, and everyone is going to have to think of a way to beat them because they're likely going to be in your way in the playoffs if you're in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, I said last week I liked Buffalo, but I picked Kansas City. While I wouldn't have minded it much if Buffalo had won, but they just didn't have it this year. Kansas City's still too tough, and with their offensive firepower with Hill and Kelsey, I mean, they seem pretty unstoppable. And Mahomes himself, I mean, come on. Yeah, he makes the plays.
Yeah, and their defense made plays too.
Yeah.
Getting the sacks. I think they got an interception or two on him. They at least one interception in the fourth quarter, I remember. And a lot of people talk about how Kansas City has such a bad defense. Like, yeah, but they make plays. They make plays when it matters. So you still got to give them some credit.
Yeah, like you said, KC's going to be the team to go through if you're ever going to want to go to the Super Bowl. And as young as they are, and as tough as they are, I have one thing to say to the AFC teams: good luck.
Yeah, and one thing if you're a Raider fan, you got to think about is hey, both games you played them, they were both shootouts, and you did outscore them in both games. Not both games, but overall, you outscored them and were 1 minute away or 30 seconds away from getting that sweep. Yes.
But Carr didn't take them to the playoffs, so.
Oh well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
if he was Watson, he could have.
Yeah.
Because Watson, what do you rate him?
I still okay. He's definitely top 5. Jeez, I don't. What would you rank him, Marissa?
Watson or Carr?
Watson.
Don't disappoint me.
I would. I mean, definitely off.
Oh, my dad's putting up a 7 right now, trying to.
No, I was gonna say in the top 10.
In the top 10 at the very least. I would say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd say about 7.
For me, Carr is like a 10 to 12 guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's top 10.
Yeah, but any team could go to the playoffs with a 10 to 12 guy. People have made the playoffs with much worse quarterbacks.
Excuse me? Are you pointing out somebody?
Jimmy G,
Whatever.
He got the Super Bowl last year.
not thanks to him.
Yeah.
Running
Wait a
the
minute,
ball-
like you said though,
Run-
team.
Yeah,
It's a team sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But people gave too much credit to him. That's what I'm trying to say. They got to acknowledge that the defense was pretty dominant, and that the running game was really good too.
I think they gave him a lot of credit, but then I think they also put a lot of blame on him at the end. So it went both ways.
Yeah, I think he still did get a little too much blame for it because it's like, a lot of the play calling by Shanahan too.
Oh, yeah.
The way Shanahan managed it,
Well,
I got to put that on him as well. It's not all on Jimmy G. Like everyone knows about the quarterback. I'll let you make your point in a little bit. Quarterback is the most praised position unnecessarily, and it's the most blamed position unnecessarily. Like it's always going to get too much attention because people fail to realize that it's a team sport overall. Dad?
Well, it was like the championship game last year, NFC, when he passed it 7 times or something.
8 times.
8 times. A ridiculous amount. Did he get the blame for... who got the blame for that? I mean, it has to be... It's the coach's calls.
Yeah, but it worked, though.
Sure it did. But then again, during the Super Bowl, he didn't throw much in the Super Bowl. And when he did...
It became a too little, too late situation. And
Anyway.
also his throws weren't too good either. There's that one play where he had Emmanuel Sanders open, which could have been a touchdown, but he just couldn't hit him. But yeah, quarterback just gets way too much praise and hate either way.
You know why? Because they're like a quarter of the team's salary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how much is Watson making? The number, what quarterback? Number 5 quarterback?
It's like between 30 to 40 million.
$40 million. Okay.
I think it's 33.
That's at least, 25 offensive linemen.
Yeah. And then, you got Carr being paid 19.5 for the next 2 years. And Garoppolo, what's he being paid?
Too much.
Well, now he's almost a bargain. At what, $25 million? Is that what he's getting?
The deal that Carr got before, that's like a bargain compared to what other people have been having.
Yeah, you're a starting quarterback. You're going to get the bank.
Rodgers getting paid too, and Mahomes, $50 million a year when the extension hits.
Yeah, but
he's
if
still on his
they win it
rookie deal.
again, he's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's worth it pretty much either way.
Yeah.
But either way, we were trying to say earlier, Kansas City is just like way too dominant right now, and now let's go into the Super Bowl. So for Raider fans, this is definitely another worst case scenario because last year it was the Chiefs and Niners. So he's like, oh, okay, if you're a Raider fan, who do you root for? Do you root for a divisional rival or a local rival?
Local? You guys aren't even local. You should have picked the
But
Niners.
at that time,
You should have picked the Niners.
no,
Local at heart.
no, neither of us.
I would have rooted for the Raiders. If they were in a before the Super Bowl, if it came down to the Raiders and the Chiefs, I would have picked the Raiders.
And I'm glad you would, but I wouldn't.
I mean, and Santa Clara is not that far, is it?
Yeah, Santa Clara.
Santa Clara Niners?
In California, Niners.
Oh, well, what if they're in L.A.?
They're still in California.
Oh, you wouldn't like them in LA?
No.
Yeah.
But either way, a bad scenario for Raider fans there. And then this year, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are led by Tom Brady. Not statistically, but not on the field. But, paper-wise, it's led by Tom Brady against the Kansas City Chiefs again, hoping for a repeat. And so, Dad, as a Raider fan, who do you want to win and who do you think will win?
I don't like Brady. I really like Mahomes as a player. He seems like a nice guy. That's, if a betting man,
Oh, and the spread is 3 favoring Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When the Patriots played the Falcons in the Super Bowl, me and my wife went to a local bar, and everybody was going on Atlanta, and I was just said, I was the only one going, well, Brady's got the Super Bowl rings to back up what he says. Everybody was like going, no. And when we left that bar, they were down. What was it? They were down by...
The infamous score was 28-3.
28-3. And we got home, and I just said to Ophelia, I said, New England is not out of it. If they can stop them every time, and New England score every time, there's a chance that New England will win, and that's exactly what happened. So, no, but I want Brady to lose. He can go to hell.
Yeah. You already heard us give our complaints about Brady. I think Brady's a guy that, he does have plenty of rings, 6, as a matter of fact, going for 7. But I think he's gotten way too much credit for a lot of it. You got to realize that he's had so many great rosters, a great head coach, a great offensive coordinator, great calls going his way. He's had so much go for him. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback or if you put him on this team, he would suck. It's just you got to realize how much he's benefited from other things outside of himself. And For me, I'm going to go for the Chiefs to win it as well. Believe me, I don't like the Chiefs either, but I'm going to want to go with them to beat the Buccaneers. It's like I'm not rooting for the Chiefs to win. I'm rooting for the Buccaneers to lose because I don't like Brady. I don't like their head coach Bruce Arians. I don't want to see Antonio Brown get a ring. That's another painful thing to think about.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He won't be getting one.
Oh no, they'll give him one. Trust me, Brady will vouch for him.
The only way he's going to get a ring is if he takes off a dead dude's finger. That's the only way he's getting a ring.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
And that dead guy happens to be an ex-Super Bowl champion.
Okay, well, hopefully, I don't even know where to go with that either way. But yeah, and even as my dad would point out, like for me, like if I was a betting person, I would go for the Chiefs either way, just because even though they are going to be missing Eric Fisher, who could be a big piece for them to lose, I just think that Andy Reid is going to have a really solid plan. It's going to be hard to deal with Tampa Bay's defense because it showed you see how much they pressured Rodgers all game last week, and it made a big difference. But I just think that Mahomes will be able to get out of it more. He's going to be a bit more mobile.
Yeah, a lot more mobile.
Yeah, and he's gonna make some crazy throws. You see the throws. I feel like some of his throws get a little too much praise, but they're still great throws no matter what. It's amazing what he can do sometimes. And also, do not question my loyalty to the Raiders for me going with the Chiefs, because a lot of people were trying to fight over like, oh, if you go for the Chiefs, you might as well stay there and such. It's like, no, they don't tell people who to root for in this. Raiders are already out of it. Let people do what they want.
You should root for Brady.
No. But Marissa, now you. Where are you gonna go with this?
Yeah, I really don't like Tom Brady at all. I'm still upset, about the Niners losing last year, but I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs here. They're a little bit more likable. I don't want to see Brady win again, and I don't want to hear about him winning, and I don't want to hear he's the GOAT. I don't want to hear it.
Don't feel like seeing his smug face.
No, I don't want to see it.
He's already got a model wife. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah, that's not the only person he kisses. you see him kiss his kid?
Damn. Low blow.
The video of him kissing his son was always like, what? I feel like
tongue? Little tongue?
No. Oh, okay. That's... No.
I don't know. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay, well. Okay, bad on me.
I regret saying it now. But, either way, I guess we all got Chiefs going with this one, although it will be a big challenge for them to deal with the Bucs offensive line. I think that's the defensive line. I think that's going to be the biggest factor for the Buccaneers to win. And for the Chiefs to be able to beat them is if they can deal with the defensive line, then they got a great shot. But even if they, Mahomes takes some sacks every now and then, I still would favor Kansas City.
Yeah.
So we all got Kansas City, right? Just making sure.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so in other football news, Watson has officially asked for a trade, requested one, and Texans, they still do want to keep him, but it just seems like the best thing for them to do right now is get rid of him, because he clearly doesn't want to play. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to hold out of training camp and such when that time comes. End of the season. He really is going to want out of it, especially with how they treated the whole head coaching situation, not getting Eric Bieniemy, and even without Watson wanting
was he available though?
He was,
and he would have. He said he wanted to go to.
Not exactly wanting
Texas?
to go there, but he does want a head coaching job.
Okay.
And he deserves one as well. And they just didn't do enough to get him. He isn't hired by anyone else yet, but it just brings up another issue with qualified black coaches, not getting head coaching jobs when they are clearly more qualified than some of the ones that get hired. Like how the Jets head coach, can't remember his name, but he kept getting hired by people even though he was clearly not a good head coach. So there's that whole situation, and so I kind of have developed an idea of where he should go, because I know. You've heard me talk before about how, Raider fans definitely wanted him to join. Even though I do know that he would be an upgrade at the quarterback position, a significant one, you also got to consider how much they would have to give away to get him. And also the money that it would cost either way. I just don't think it's a realistic trade.
Oh, really?
Yes. But one suitor that I think would be really good for him is the Carolina Panthers. Now, their draft capital isn't too great. It's more like pretty basic, but they do have the 8th overall pick this year. They could give up some other future first-round picks. Teddy Bridgewater could be involved, someone that could just hold over for the Texans while they try to search for their next quarterback or rebuild the team from there. And then imagine what it's like for Watson to work with Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson. I think David Moore will still be there. Curtis Samuel is a free agent, so maybe you might want to re-sign if they keep him. And you also got the whole defense that's still developing because they had a lot of rookies. All of them in year 2, if they make progress, that could become a pretty decent defense. My big question though is Matt Rule. Is he qualified as a head coach yet? Did he do enough? And I'm still really on the fence if he has a bright future in the NFL. But I don't know. It's still up in the air for me. But that's where I'm going to call it. And I got Brady right last year. I called that Brady was going to get signed by the Buccaneers because they were a quarterback away from being a contender. And what happened? They got him, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
And Brady took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, a little side note. Jennifer King, she was made Washington football team's first full-time black coach. She's an assistant running back coach for
Was this
the
just
Washington
recent?
football team. That just happened today.
Oh,
Woo.
nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Washington, doing the right thing, proper thing. Something should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, and yet they still can't find a proper name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
But
still- but
just a
credit,
little story.
give credit when credit's due. But
Yeah.
it definitely shouldn't be satisfying enough because, like I was saying earlier, there's plenty of black coaches in the NFL that deserve much better jobs.
Head coaches.
Yeah, head coaches.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason with the whole Texas thing because there's one right in front of them, Bieniemy from Kansas City, who was more than qualified, and they didn't get him. It shows a lot of ineptitude in the organization.
Somebody will get him though. Right?
Somebody will.
Yeah.
And they'll be
I hope
lucky
so.
to have him.
Mhm.
Yeah. But either way, that's my feelings on Watson. Do you guys have any theories on where he'll go?
The Raiders. Just kidding.
No.
No. I have no idea. Don't have a clue. Wherever he goes, he won't be in Texas.
And last but not least, for the NFL here, Chad Wheeler has been arrested for the crime of first-degree domestic assault on his ex-girlfriend. That was a really ugly situation, especially when the news first came out about that. We saw the images of how she looked after she was beat up, and if I said, if you told me that she was dead, I would have believed it because what he did to her was inhumane, and he deserves time in prison, plenty of time in prison. I don't want to hear a plea for insanity or something like that. No, what he did was awful, and something needs to happen. Something needs to happen.
Lay down the law.
Sorry for the background.
Make him an example of him. A good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not a good example, but you know what I mean.
I think was he already a free agent?
I'm not exactly sure. I think he was still with the team though,
Oh,
to some degree.
Or he should be released from the team.
I'm pretty sure they already did.
Yeah.
I don't see how they could still keep him already.
Yeah. And after a vicious act like that, I think, as far as I'm concerned, he should never play another down in the NFL.
Well, he might not even be old. By the time he gets out of prison, he'll probably be way too old to even get on the field.
How long are domestic violence sentences?
I'm not exactly
I'm
sure.
not really sure.
But by the time he's out, his career would
Yeah.
already be out of reach.
Yeah.
Should be. Even then, even if it's a short sentence,
Yeah.
Oh,
he
what's
still
it-
doesn't deserve a chance.
What was the guy, Rice?
Ray
Oh.
Rice.
Ray Rice. Oh, yeah.
I remember he got reinstated, but he still never played again.
Yeah, poison.
But anyways, that's all we got to say for the NFL. Moving on to the NBA, and I thought we should go outside of the Warriors to start things off, and I want to talk about Bradley Beal. So he's a small forward / shooting guard. I talked about him with you before, Dad, last year, talking about how he really needs to be traded because his time is really being wasted on that team.
Well, John Wall was his. Those two, while they're two great players, they can't play on the same team.
But like,
Wall was just too demanding.
Well, Wall is in Houston now, and they even then they still weren't winning. And I don't know if he's ever seen the playoffs, maybe once. But either way, though, he's got to get out of there because right now he is averaging 35.4 points per game, and yet the Wizards are 3-11. They got Russell Westbrook, and he's almost averaging a triple-double. But that's still not enough. You look at the rest of that roster, it's pretty much a lot of nobodies.
Terrible.
It's a terrible team, and to see how much he's been putting up on a regular basis, tearing through defenses, and no one else is doing anything. And I think that a lot of teams should be looking for him during the trade deadline, or definitely before that. But when it comes to who would suit him best, Lakers are an obvious one. Just to give themselves a chance at repeating. What other teams?
The asking price would be too big for Lakers. They'd have to give up half their team to get him.
Do you think there's any other teams that'd be willing to get him?
Well, you would mention the Pelicans.
Yeah, Pelicans, Nuggets were another team that were mentioned. Of course, this is
76ers.
Yeah, 76ers. I think that's like that's one that I really look at, the 76ers, because I think they're like a few pieces away from being a true contender.
And the Bucks too. They all have players that they'd be able to trade to Washington to get Beal.
Yeah, I think definitely in the Eastern Conference is a place that I could see him staying there. Between the Sixers and Bucks.
I don't know what his contract looks like, but whether it's a no trade or anything like that, I wouldn't think so.
It's a big one, so you'd have to you got to inherit that, so that's gonna be tough to deal with. But either way, I do think he deserves a shot with a good team. Next up, we got the Warriors. So there was a little bit of talk going on about how Oubre might get traded, to the Pelicans. But Steve Kerr later, clarified that actually the Pelicans called the Warriors for a trade, and that's all it was. And so he kind of felt bad about that whole situation because it probably isn't good for Oubre to see those headlines and think oh wait, do they not want me, or it might say about how the Warriors feel about him, but really it was just the other side reaching out.
And he had a really strange game last night.
He started off 7 of 7.
Yeah, but that was after he had 2 quick fouls. They brought in Bazemore. Bazemore scores a quick 7. They bring back Oubre at the start of the second quarter. Ends up having the best quarter of his career. Then the start of the third quarter, he gets his 4th foul, sits down immediately, and what a
turn of events.
I think he had 20 points.
Yeah, he finished with 20.
He finished with 20 points. Wiseman had an incredible game.
Yeah, another career high.
The Warriors last week were 6-4.
Yeah.
They won 2 in a row. I thought they were going to get on a little bit of a streak after they beat San Antonio, but they played the Knicks the very next night and got killed.
Although losing Green before halftime definitely played a big role in that. It was an unfair ejection as well.
Yeah, he got ejected for yelling at his own teammate. The referee thought he was yelling at him and gave him his second technical and got run from the game. Now, it didn't make. At the end of the game, the referees came to talk to Steve Kerr. Said, "Hey, we screwed up. We shouldn't have kicked him out, but the game's over."
Yeah, Matt Barnes on the jump made a really good point the day after, saying when the refs or the officiating association rescinded the technical foul. Matt Barnes said, this is just like the 2-minute drill or the 2-minute report that they have in the NBA. It's it's not going to mean anything. It already happened.
Well, first of all, why didn't the referees all get together? It was determined right away, boom, technical, you're out of here. And Green was already in the locker room. Next thing you know, he's in the locker room. So, and the referees never got together and said, okay, what'd you hear? What'd he say?
Yeah, but of course, a lot of people argue with that, saying, "Well, the game would take longer if they do things like that." But I think it's ridiculous.
That's
I'd rather get the right call than a shorter game, easily.
Well, the way they do it now, it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
I actually like the way they do it now is where the referee will look in the camera, or that's just where that happens to be where he goes to the microphone and says what the call is. You know,
I like
anything
that.
discussed. Yeah.
And it just reminds me of like how the ignorance of refs, or arrogancy, I think is the better word, of refs to not check their own calls or even like listen to anyone for a second about it.
I think for the most part the referees have been pretty good.
I just remember one
He was
time.
a rookie. This guy they had, the guy who kicked out Green, was a rookie.
Yeah.
So,
But still, though, you got to be better than that.
well, he's a rookie.
And what you call it? I just remember one time Warriors were playing the Rockets. I believe it was the Rockets or Thunder, and I think it was against Chris Paul. Either time that he was with one of those teams, because he spent time in both of them. And there was a play, I believe, where you literally see Chris Paul going to the basket and he dives and they call a foul as he shoots. And when you look at the replay, he wasn't even touched. He just dove on his own and they still kept the foul in. It's it wouldn't kill you just to look at that for 1 second and realize that he wasn't even touched. And I just was never really a big fan of NBA officiating to see how many like tic-tac calls there are, or how many times you see someone get bludgeoned and they don't call anything for that.
The NBA is pretty hard to referee. I mean, even adding a referee, because you may not be aware of this, but at one point they only had 2 refs. So it was probably about, I'm guessing, over 10 years ago when they added a 3rd ref. But it's hard to get anything right. I mean, NBA is a fast-moving game. So I can understand them screwing up now and then, but, anyway.
Yeah.
The Warriors, like I was saying, the Warriors had beat the Spurs, got killed by the Knicks, and then 3 days later, on a Saturday night, they lost. They got killed by the Jazz. They were down by 36 at the end of 3 quarters. So the Warriors having their ups and downs. They did have a winning week, which is good, or last 10 anyway. They play the Suns tonight in Phoenix. Both teams are playing back-to-back games, so that should be an interesting game. And they're playing in Phoenix.
Yep. Is there much else you guys want to talk about? NBA, baseball?
We mentioned Wiseman's great game, Oubre's great game. Curry had an okay game. He started out the first quarter 0 for 7. I think he had 2 points at half. I might be wrong on that one, but I think it was 2 points at half. It seems like Pascal has taken a little bit of a step back as far as his playing. He doesn't seem to play with the confidence he had. You can tell when he's taking the 3-pointer or even his mid-range jumper, it almost seems like he's taking a little. He seems to hesitate a little bit. As far as the rest of the war, Bazemore's been playing really good. He came through yesterday, even though it was kind of a strange game because he came in for Oubre in the first quarter when Oubre got in foul trouble. Has had 7 quick points, and when Oubre went out in the third quarter for more foul trouble, Bazemore came in, committed a silly foul, and was taken out and didn't play any more of the game. So he had a strange stat night. But the Warriors, all in all, played a pretty decent game. Curry ended up with, I think, 16 points. I made some key 3-pointers. Next, Steven, what are you going to say?
One thing I forgot to mention with Oubre is that I mostly liked him for this year, but it's hard to ignore that he has been pretty streaky this season. Points-wise when it comes to scoring in single or double digits. His first 3 games, single digits. Next 4, double digits. Next 2, single. Next 5, double. Next 2, single. Next 2, double. And his plus-minus is pretty much all over the place. The first 2 games really far in the minus. Next 2 pretty mostly positive. Then the next one minus 20. He even had a minus 29 before. Then his highest plus is plus 21. That was when he scored 18 points on January 4th. He's definitely been very streaky this season, but there's still plenty of time for him to become more steady. Because he's gonna need to become more steady.
And Wiggins, speaking of steady,
Wiggins has been the most one of the most steady players all year, easily.
Yeah, He's we would definitely be having a losing record without him. He's just been coming through, defense, offense, you name it. He's coming through.
Yeah, I'm definitely really happy.
Becoming a Wiggins fan.
Yes.
You get that Wiggins tattoo.
No. But I'm pretty sure that's all we got for the NBA. Marissa, you got some stuff for us talking about the great Trevor Bauer, your favorite player of all time.
No, not my favorite player at all. So, Bauer still is unsigned, but today it came out that the Mets have reportedly made an offer to him, but I guess it was a lot less than everyone expected. It's only about 3 or 4 years, and
At how much?
36 million or less than 36 million. The wording is kind of confusing. It says it's worth less than the record annual value of 36 million. So, I don't know. I think it's gonna come down to either the Mets or the Dodgers, because the Angels seem to have gone out and they're not gonna go after Bauer anymore. He needs to hurry up and sign. It's getting close. I think pitchers and catchers report February 15th. So.
Now, is that after that? Because I thought it got pushed back a little bit.
I think that's still the starting date. I don't know. I thought at first everybody had to get vaccinated, but I'm not sure now. I think Manfred said he wants pitchers and catchers there on February 15th.
Okay.
Hopefully, and Bauer, hurry up and sign. I'm getting tired of hearing about him.
Same.
How about those A's?
So that's
A's are falling like flies.
Yeah, so just recently, Marcus Semien has left the Oakland A's for the Toronto Blue Jays for a 1-year, $18 million deal. Definitely a weird contract, I wasn't expecting like that.
The A's could have easily afforded.
Yeah, and they did make an offer to him, apparently. Rumors say that they offered him like $12.5 million, and then they give him $1 million each year for the next 10 years, kind of like a vanilla from the Mets, that kind of deal.
That's a good deal.
No.
He's still getting paid.
Yeah. But anyways, it's just really sad. And then you got Tommy La Stella. I thought that was someone that the A's said oh yeah, we really want to get him back, and La Stella's oh yeah, I want to come back too, and they don't keep him either way. And then there's also who else? Grossman, he left, although I think we might have mentioned that already. And it just shows how inept the ownership is in Oakland right now, and has been, because Jeff Fisher has, he's the 5th richest owner in baseball, estimated to have $2.9 billion, and yet the payroll is only usually between 70 to 90 million.
Rich get richer. Probably get that. Getting that Trump tax cut.
Yeah, I think he was at 2.2 billion before the pandemic, and after it, he 0.7 billion gained, and it's just so tragic to see, because a lot of A's fans are so frustrated. Their attendance, has always been even when they had winning seasons, because people know it's this isn't gonna last for long.
Everyone's gonna leave.
Yeah, the team is never good enough to make it to the World Series. They've only made it to the championship series once. That was when they got swept by the Detroit Tigers, I believe in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were there.
And it's not gonna work out. Trying to have this whole Moneyball approach is not gonna work.
Oh, Moneyball? Yeah.
Yeah,
you gotta feel bad for Bob Melvin too, because he's doing the best he can with what he has.
Yeah, and speaking of Melvin, he's entering the last year of his contract, so this might be the last we have of him. I don't think he's gonna be retiring or anything like that.
Who's the Giants got?
Giants have Gabe Kapler right now. If Bob Melvin's listening, please come to the Giants.
No, if
yes,
Bob Melvin's
please.
listening, please stick with us when we get rid of Fisher.
Please come. I don't think.
Hey, Giants will spend the money.
Kapler doesn't have a long contract. I think he's only got a few years, I hope. Melvin, please.
No, I don't think so.
Please.
But anyways, it's so frustrating. I can't emphasize it enough on how angry I am as an A's fan seeing this happen. And it also should be a message to the MLB that they need to step in, because it has happened before. In 2012, I saw that the Dodgers ownership had to go through a change because the MLB had to intervene because they believed that their owner at the time wasn't doing enough to make them competitive.
So why wasn't I wonder why anything wasn't done with the Chicago Cubs for so long. One of the richest owners in baseball as well, where they weren't spending enough money to get the players they needed to win a championship. They wanted, they went over 100 years
Yeah.
before winning a championship,
Well, some teams.
and they're
they've
one of the
never
richest
won
teams
one.
in all of baseball for decades.
Yeah, but were they like still like competitive? Did they make the not the World Series, but like playoffs at all in those times? Like maybe for the Dodgers, they weren't making it, and for the A's right now, they have such a hard time getting beyond the divisional round, and usually it's years of rebuild, and then a few years of doing well, and then years of rebuild again. It's so off and on, but they're never gonna reach the World Series.
When did somebody step in?
2012.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say, if this happened before Manfred, then there's your reason why. Manfred's not gonna do anything.
She sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely owners, commissioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he really is. He is their, would you say, lapdog or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's too much of a businessman and not enough of a baseball man.
Yeah. And so it's just like I really hope something happens soon. I'm in some group chats, involving the A's, and a lot of them are talking about like, of course, talk is talk. We won't really know what they're gonna do until the season comes by. But a lot of people really want to get rid of their season tickets or start boycotting games. Or also do walkouts too. Like someone mentioned, possibly holding a walkout. To have a bunch of gear that is like scarves or anything like that, or those things when they make signs with a bunch of other signs, you know what I mean? They all become kind of like a puzzle in a way where everyone holds up something and it becomes something big.
They should boycott. I mean, just don't show up.
Yeah, I think if you look at their attendance, it already looks like nobody's showing up. So
yeah, but if you make it even worse,
but the A's have they're the best deal in baseball. You got great food, and it's inexpensive. The ticket prices are incredible. We have a package where I think what was it per game, preseason?
Yeah, it was a really good deal.
Tickets. So you go to every single game where it's like $300-something bucks. You cannot beat that.
Yeah, but is it worth the price of possibly never seeing a World Series victory?
Well, the Giants tickets are so expensive,
They're entertaining,
and the Giants aren't going to make it anytime soon, and their food sucks.
So then shouldn't that shouldn't that prove that it can go either way? Then you can have a really good team that maybe doesn't spend not a really good team that you know what I'm trying to say, because both of you kind of argue something, but I feel like they kind of go against each other in some sort of way. You got the A's who, they have such cheap deals, but their team will never win the World Series. But you have the Giants here who spend a lot of money.
They have an entertaining
but
team, though. When's the last time the A's have been like,
but entertaining is going to
get go to a game?
It's going to get tiring, though, eventually.
Yeah, you never get tired of winning, and they're winning.
But you're not winning enough.
Yeah, you're not winning enough.
Yeah.
Small steps.
Would you?
Right now, I'm crawling.
In a 10-year span, would you rather make the playoffs once and win it all that year, and then be mediocre for the other years around it, or would you make the playoffs every year but always lose in the first round?
No,
First of all, you can't compare the two scenarios.
I'd rather make it once and then be mediocre.
Yeah, because you witnessed the A's winning 3 in a row and then witnessed their 89 team. But me, I have never seen a single championship. So, for me, I would hate to see them make the playoffs over and over again and not make it. It's always being short. It's going to be so frustrating. And if you want to win, you have to make upgrades. And right now, ownership is the upgrade that they need to make.
They'll eventually win again, just not anytime soon. I mean, but by any time soon, I mean 5-10 years.
No, I think it could go even longer because Fisher's also pretty young for an owner, and I just unless the fans try to do something about it or the league, I think he's going to try to stay there for a long time because he's still getting money even though he's not contributing at all.
You have to wonder what Chapman and Olsen are thinking right now. They just saw Simeon walk, who was one of their best players. What's going through their head? Do they want to stay with somebody who could?
Well, Olsen just signed a big contract.
I mean, but
that was that 1 year thing, just for the year to hold him over.
Yeah, they could, you know.
I think they're gonna walk when their contracts are up. So will Canna. So will Pinder.
And then you're
so
back
will their
at
pitchers. You got to think about what's his name, the big left-hander, Luzardo.
Yeah.
And then AJ Puck. You know Puck. His future's really uncertain right now. Like, do those guys want to stay? Like, it's very likely they're gonna leave.
A lot of, believe it or not, I think some of the players like to play because in Oakland it will stay for a cheaper price, because it's laid back. No pressure, good environment, good fans. Not a lot of them, but good fans.
Well, then can you tell us this Sonny Gray, Yoenis Cespedes, Josh Donaldson, Brandon Moss, Jed Lowry for a bit,
They got rid of
Josh
them.
Reddick. Yeah, because
They didn't leave on their own.
You think if they,
Look, Donaldson would have signed for less, and he said he would have signed for less had he stayed with the A's.
But he didn't. He got
Because he got traded.
And then he accepted an extension. he Lowry. You saw Lowry come back, but Donaldson, he took an extension to stay in the Blue Jays. Then he had some troubles with his career, and now he's doing well in Atlanta.
They had Chapman. Why come back to a team where you wouldn't have a position?
No, not Atlanta, Cleveland.
Yeah. No.
But
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
But he got hurt. Yeah.
But what do you think of it?
Every time this happens, it feels like the A's are starting back at the beginning.
It's an endless cycle.
They make so much progress. They get all these guys, Chapman, Olsen, Simeon, and then they leave. Well, not Olsen and Chapman yet, and then they're back at the beginning. But I don't know. Depending on what the rules are this year, like as far as extended playoffs, there still might be a chance for the A's to make it. I mean, how competitive are they going to be without some of those key guys they had last year? I don't know. But if there's extended playoffs, they might be able to get in there again.
Yeah, it's just really frustrating. But like, if I could change things myself, I would get rid of the owner, get someone who really cares. What's so frustrating too is you see someone like Joe Lacob of the Warriors, how he constantly is willing to go over the luxury tax to make sure his team can win.
Or the Mets' new owner.
Yes. It's just like, when you said owner, I immediately thought GM, so I'm like, wait a second.
Wait, no, no.
But like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's just like, it's so frustrating to see an owner who couldn't care less about his team. Mm. And I want to see a World Series. I don't care about making the playoffs consistently if they're not gonna make it to the World Series. Like, what's it worth watching a team if they're never gonna win? What's it worth?
I mean, the same could have been said before last year about the Dodger fans, because they always made it too, and they never won.
But they won. They made decisions. They made big moves that were, you could call them risky, but they made big decisions to get Mookie Betts, and it paid off.
Yeah, but the Dodgers also have endless money.
And look at the Padres. Even though I feel like Machado was overpaid, they made a lot of big moves, and now they're going to be a big team to look at as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the Phillies.
Oh, Phillies.
Hey, they got, what's his face, Harper.
No.
Woo-hoo!
Harper is so
overrated, over annoying. Yeah, all the overs.
Yeah. But,
anyway.
So I got one more thing to talk about. I just wanted to talk about how things are going right now, writing-wise. So, I plan on doing another article soon for the Raider Ramble. Don't know when it's going to be going out yet because I'm still, trying to settle into the new school semester. It'll take a little time. What's so funny?
Hey, Raider Ramble comes first.
What?
Comedy class.
I'm taking a class talking about the art of comedy. Still education does come first, right now. And I do plan on getting this article out hopefully in this week or next. It'll be talking about how much faith the Raiders should have in Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards as possible starting receivers in the case that Aguilar leaves, and whether or not they should be willing to get a veteran receiver if they don't have enough faith. I'll be going over that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode. We sure had a lot of fun talking for the last hour. Do you have any last words?
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, I guess.
Oh,